leave meeting. I don't want to be recorded.
Okay, well, fine. I'm going to bed.
Leave meeting. I do not agree to
I waited for you.
this. I just thought how funny that would be.
Such a
To
dick move.
just be like, this is being recorded. Got it, and leave meeting.
It's like, oh, I didn't know we are gonna be on camera for this review. God. Hey everybody. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, so we're getting this done late. But we are here to talk about Wakanda Forever, which is
Yes.
the much awaited Black Panther sequel that had an impossible task ahead of it. And I'm very curious to hear what your thoughts on this are, because there's definitely a lot going on here.
So yeah, I mean, okay, this is complicated because I'm not a fan of uh how okay, let's put it this way. I'm not a fan of how Phase 4 connects
Mm,
because I don't think it does at all.
I personally
And
don't have a
and
problem
and
with that, but
that's
yeah.
and that's yeah. There are isolated incidents within the universe now that I've enjoyed quite a bit of. Your
Hmm.
WandaVision, this, that, and the other. But um this is the one that I was hoping that would connect them all in some way
Hmm.
because it's MCU and this is what we've done so far. For example, um our first our first view of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, was in
Hmm.
Civil War, right?
Yeah.
To me, that was important that we got that before the film came out, right?
Hmm.
This again seems to be a somber reflection of the fact that we have lost the connectivity of the MCU. This as an isolated incident is a wonderful film. It's a brilliant film.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna come here and tell you that the film was trash. I was scared it was gonna be trash,
Yeah. Right.
but it so was not. So was not. This is a career defining performance for Letitia Wright. I know she
Mhm.
didn't like being on the set, and she
Yeah.
has gone on record as saying that she will never do another Marvel film again. So I don't know what y'all gonna do now because that shit is dope. you know, but I don't know what y'all gonna do now because she is Black Panther now and she owns it. So
Yeah.
good luck. But yeah, so the film itself, it's beautiful. It is a worthy successor to the first one. I don't think it's better than the first one,
I agree.
but I think it's worthy.
Mhm.
In a lot of ways, a lot of
Yeah.
ways. But I'll tell you this: I went and saw it with a friend of mine at the Chinese theater, on Hollywood Boulevard.
Hmm.
The famous
Yeah.
historical one. And excuse me, everybody was so gripped by the film. Everybody was loving it. But I noticed something.
Hmm.
When the end of the film came and the after credit scene happened, everybody stayed in their seats. Everybody just stayed in their seats. The last time I saw that was the end of Endgame,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it had the same feeling. That's what I'm saying. The finality of it.
Yeah.
This felt like not only was it a funeral for Chadwick Boseman, it felt like it was a funeral for the MCU. like like that's it felt like okay, so from now on we're gonna get these isolated incidents that are in pockets. We're never gonna be this large again. That's what it felt like to me.
I don't agree with that. Well, I've a few things to push back about that. One thing I think MCU connectivity has never been what actually made any of these movies good. I don't think it's really that important.
I,
Uh,
I I think it grounds it in something. I don't think it's important for each film, but I think it's important that it connects at the end and it
sure,
means something. Otherwise, Infinity War and Endgame would have meant shit. Had
true,
we
but
not
like that
spent
being
10
said, like the
years
the trick
doing
of
that.
the MCU is it only makes you think you need to watch everything, but really every single movie kind of stands on its own for the most part. Like you can kind of like you can get some fan service appeal by watching all the movies and getting all the references to other movies and stuff like that, but it's not necessary.
The
Um,
the connectivity for me is what I thought was always missing in superhero films. And I've harped on this a bunch of
mhm.
times. I'm always like, look, you're in New York, okay? So by law, if you go down one street, Spider-Man should be hanging on a
Mm.
skyscraper. You go down the other street, somebody should be getting their blood sucked and Blade is getting ready to kill them. You go to Hell's Kitchen, Daredevil's like, stay off my turf. If you go too far past the Stark building, then the Baxter building should be there and the Fantastic Four should be there. These people inhabit this world. So
True.
when I don't see them, it bugs me.
But
It bugs me.
in that same respect, I would make the argument it's actually more like the comics than ever because of that reason, because they don't actively cross over. Because most of the times the characters do kind of live in their own isolated bubbles and they don't interact with each other except for like special events. Like with some exceptions, like Daredevil and Spider-Man tend to run into each other quite a bit. But for the most part, like Fantastic Four is on the negative zone one day. Like meanwhile, like I don't know, Luke Cage is doing some stuff in the streets somewhere. Like they're just kind of
He's in Harlem. He's not that far away.
but even though they're not that far away, like they're still like they don't always cross over with each other. A lot of times they're just doing their own thing, and a lot of their events don't really cross over with each other. So I would make the argument, and a lot of their scales in these stories are often like larger than life, end of the world things, but they don't see the Fantastic Four intervening every single incident.
Yeah,
Uh,
but what I am saying is that we have just spent 12 years connecting these people.
sure.
There was a world-changing event. These people saved the Earth. You tell me they're all just gone now?
But Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, only mattered connectivity wise when Infinity War happened. Until then, they had no connection to the Earth's characters at any point.
But now that they're here,
That doesn't mean they always need to be there, is my point. Uh,
but in a Thor movie, they made a point to put them there, and that's my point.
okay.
They were there
I
for
don't know.
5 seconds. It didn't matter much, but they're there.
But I don't think it's necessary, and I think focusing more on that is how you get the DCEU. Uh
I mean, I disagree, but the DCEU got its own problems.
It's got
But
a lot of problems, but the
so
part of like it's the focus when you focus more on making like, oh, everything's got to connect with each other, everything's got to like be a part of something, everything's got to be this bigger plan. Then you just run out of steam with individual storyline because you're like, this is Iron Man 2's problem. It's like you're so focused on trying to connect all these different pieces that you're not focusing on the story you're telling, and the story you're telling suffers as a result. Uh,
but they knew they were going to stretch it out. That's why it didn't bother me then.
mm,
Because I knew more was coming. It feels like I used to leave a theater watching a Marvel movie thinking about the possibilities of what was happening next. That's what was missing from this one. And I
yeah,
could tell it was missing from the audience. The audience was so in this process of grief watching the movie. I don't want to give spoilers, but it's pretty heavy.
yeah,
And it goes to a lot of places. And people were so in that grief that it wasn't the same kind of buzz that it used to be. That's what I'm
mm,
saying. It feels like my critique on Phase 4 is that it is shrinking the universe slowly but surely.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
don't.
that's what
I
I think.
personally don't see that as a negative, in my opinion.
But you
Uh,
agree that you can see it starting to close in.
I think it's more just the fact this thing's been going on for 12 years, and after a certain point, whether you love it or hate it, it like fatigue's gonna roll in at some point. That's just inevitable. That being said, what I like about Phase 4 is the fact that, to me, my perspective on it is that yeah, it's not as connected, sure, and I also kind of like that because it gives more freedom to tell different kinds of stories and experiment and try different stuff and see what works, see what doesn't
Which is the
work.
part that I like.
Yeah,
It's the part that I like. I like the different stories. I like the different characters. I don't think that they've had a miscast in Phase 4 at all.
not that I can think of.
The only matter of fact, the only miscast that I think ever happened in the MCU was Brie Larson. That's
Yeah,
it.
still,
I think everybody else has been perfect.
yeah,
Well, Terrence Howard playing Rhodey, I'll give him that.
okay, yeah,
That was a mistake from the beginning. He just wasn't right for it.
that
I
was
like
yeah.
Terrence Howard, but
Yeah, whatever happened to him? What's he doing these days?
well, Terrence Howard, he left that, and then he just had a hit TV show on Fox on Empire, the hip hop
Right, Empire. That was it. Yeah.
drama TV show that I was trying to get on desperately, could not get on. You know, but yeah, so I think their casting department is great. I think the writing suffers sometime from show to show to movie,
Yeah,
depending on who they have in the room. I like the variance of stories. I haven't been they haven't tingled my spider sense like, oh, you have an agenda or something. I think that all the characters are good for the stories that they want to tell, but it feels like they're trying to show me something, a larger picture that they're not willing to show me.
I'm gonna say wait till Ant-Man 3 comes out because that's when like because and if you want to like make mirror parallels, you can also make the same argument that Phase 1 also wasn't all that concerned about connecting everyone except for like post-credit scenes. Until the Avengers came around and brought everything together. And that's when like Phase 2 happened, everything else is more focused on setting up the Infinity Stones, all that stuff. So in the same parallel, you can kind of make the same argument here that this is not intended to have a larger focus or make all these big connections so much as okay, here's a bunch of characters and wacky stories. They'll meet eventually.
Well, what about the Loki and the freaking messing up the multiverse?
Oh yeah, that's where Kang comes in, and he's gonna be in Ant-Man 3, and that's
Well,
gonna be its
Kang
own
and
thing.
Doctor Strange, right?
Was that?
I said Kang and Doctor Strange, right? Was supposed to have some sort of semblance of something together.
I mean, they've already announced that they're gonna do like two more Avengers movies. With like
With who?
I don't know, with the many other superheroes like just
They
spent the
don't.
last.
I'm just saying but they don't know each other. That's all I'm saying.
They
Like
didn't know each other in Phase 1 either.
the
That's the whole
the
point of the
The
Avengers.
Avengers, but the Avengers know each other and they're not there. Where are they?
But like, well, that's the thing though. Like, the Avengers have changed so fucking much over the years. The same team has like never been consistent ever. Like right now, fucking Ghost Rider and Blade are on the Avengers. Everyone's been an Avenger.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's I know about that, but
yeah. But the point is
I'm
like, I don't think that matters too much because like you can literally just clump all the new characters they just introduced into a team and call them the Avengers. That's really what it means.
it just feels disconnected, but it doesn't feel like it's on purpose. I guess that's what I'm getting at, and I've loved the way they've connected it. I've loved the
Mm-hmm.
modern storytelling elements and the myths becoming reality. I That's my favorite part of the MCU, so I'm getting a little bummed that they're not trying to further that.
I think they are, and I think that at this point they're just letting stuff breathe, and I think that's okay. I think we need to give it a little space to breathe because again, there's been so much of this stuff, and I think trying to focus everything connects to each other is just super distracting.
Well,
Uh,
we got away from the point. So
yes, we did.
okay. So Black Panther, but yeah, but initially I went on that tangent because I felt like I felt like Black Panther 2 is a harbinger
Mm,
of things to come. I think the universe is shrinking.
mm,
But Black Panther as an isolated incident, as a film on its own, it's a beautiful film. Like
yeah.
there's very few things where it goes wrong. There are some societal issues that it brings up that I think could have been handled better, you
Hmm.
know. And that's and again that's the white people at Marvel not checking themselves and not understanding their own feature creep. They basically did a I mean it's blacks versus Mexicans the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the white people are innocent bystander. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, anyway.
I mean, you can make the argument that the white people are actually the aggressors, at least in the Namor storyline,
Yeah,
in particular.
they are in both, but as a result, we get this large battle that almost is on the verge of eternal war,
Hmm.
because you know the events that happen in a movie,
Yeah.
and yeah, it introduces some great things. Um, from a cultural standpoint, they could have been a little more sensitive to the issue that I just said.
Fair enough. I can respect that. Yeah.
So there, but again, it's it's hard to dislike it because the performances are so fucking good.
Yeah. And Ryan
They're
Coogler
just
knows
too
what he's
good.
doing.
He
Uh,
does. The scope is just right. The character motivations are just right. That scene in the beginning of the film, perfectly done.
yep.
Um, yeah, like I can't even get on it like I'd get on normal Marvel movies. And I think I said this for the original Black Panther film. Like to me, what Marvel has done, and I think Phase 4 is good on this point, is
Hmm.
that we are now making a demarcation between comic book films and superhero movies,
Hmm.
where comic book films are tons of story and world building and character building punctuated by action, and superhero films is like stuff blowing up for an hour,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Black Panther, I think is firmly in the category of the comic book film because
Hmm.
it's stretching out the world, it's expanding its own world, and it's expanding the motivations of these characters who are unlike any of the other characters that we've witnessed, right?
Hmm.
So we get to return back into that and we get to dig our hands into it. That's always a good point of the Ryan Coogler
Yeah.
Marvel experience, right?
I think it's
Um,
also worth noting the first Black Panther isn't necessarily even connected to any other MCU stuff either. It very much is its own
well,
thing.
it's only connected because of Civil War. That's it.
Yeah,
You know,
pretty much.
yeah, like we start off with the circumstances of the aftermath of Civil War directly bleeding into the beginning of the Black Panther film, and that's it.
Yeah, fair. Likewise.
Uh,
And I guess in another way, you can also see they like just I guess this is a very geopolitical film, which is an interesting take for a
it's true.
character just like this, while also not being afraid to embrace the more comic booky elements of it, which I personally appreciated.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. When it goes there, yeah.
like I like that they kept the design of the Midnight Angels pretty similar to the books,
Hmm.
minus the open midriff because yeah, of course, comics. I love that they kept the goofy ankle wings on Namor, and
Oh
it
yeah, yeah.
surprisingly worked.
That's OG. Well,
Yeah,
well, it works because of the cultural significance.
yeah,
That's actually they were expert in weaving that around the cultural narrative of the gods and the history of those people.
yeah, and
I mean,
the reimagining of Namor and Atlantis into this kind of like forgotten Mayan culture. I thought that was a very cool twist on the character, and I thought still
yeah.
really well. And the guy, I forget the actor's name, but the guy played Namor himself. I thought was fantastic.
He's a well-known actor from Mexico. He's known over there. He's like a celebrity over there, but this is his kind of his first foray into doing stuff over here. So he's well known where he's from.
Well, he's did a phenomenal job. It really like, especially for a character that's again as old and as kind of weird as Namor the Submariner is. um, I was very happy to see how they turned out. Like I think Letitia Wright, I think does a great job. It's that one is a little complicated though because I know she was very openly anti-vax when that
Right.
whole
And
thing
and
came up.
and and that even kind of bled into the story. You notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that,
That was interesting.
and so it's very I had very conflicted feelings. I was like, oh man, like she doesn't want to be here, but she's still damn good.
She's just too good, bro. She's just too
Yeah,
good. And like Angela Bassett might get like the first superhero movie Oscar. Like
yeah, she's
she
fantastic in this movie
she's
too. Yeah,
so good, bro.
she's
That
killing it.
just that one scene where I don't want to give it away,
You can get
but
the
just
spoilers a little later, but yeah,
that one scene in the beginning, bro, where she's being a diplomat
yep.
and just like straight up catching them in their bullshit right in the beginning. I loved it so much.
Oh no, and I know she. I think I
Loved it
saw an
so
interview where
much.
she said she was like genuinely intimidated because like her role just got ballooned up from the first movie in a pretty significant way for fairly obvious reasons.
Right. Right.
And again, like considering just the impossible task that was given to the people making this movie of trying to make this an homage to Chadwick Boseman, obviously, while still being its own entity within the MCU and also
So
balancing like you say the universe is shrinking. We just got Atlanteans. So I don't know. I
I
feel like you
feel
can spend in other ways too. Uh,
but again, but it's like but again, the Atlanteans they're not trying to go out into it's not like the end of Black Panther where Black Panther goes in front of the United Nations and they're talking about joining the world and assisting them and giving them resources. They're like, okay, we're gonna go back to our hole now, but don't fuck with us.
which again is
Like
pretty accurate to how it is in the book, but also like that being said, there's also a world aware, whether they like it or not, of a new power. Like again, what they said in the movie, a new power in play, and whether they like it or like that's gonna come back in some capacity. Um,
hopefully.
like and even if it doesn't, that's okay too. A lot of these elements come and go in the comic book universe. And they kind of come into play whenever they need to, and I don't like when they're shoehorned into stories because I always feel like that's when comic stories get the weakest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think the biggest weakness of Nick Spencer's Spider-Man run, for example, was the fact that it was so obsessed with putting up obscure continuity shit and like stuff from years ago and like, hey, remember this thing that existed that one time, well, we're bringing it back here and it's gonna be cool because you recognize it. And to me, it's so distracting and so annoying. I don't mean to harp on it, but that just came to my head.
No,
Uh,
it's okay, dude.
but anyway, back. It's like it's also like 1 a.m. and I'm tired, so I'm
No, for
kind of
sure,
running
for
off the
sure.
cuff here. But anyway, back to the movie itself. But that being said, like I liked Riri Williams. I thought she was pretty good. Uh,
She's a nice breath of fresh air and it came from a genuine place for her. It wasn't that I'm trying to replace Iron Man type thing.
no,
It was on its own tip and I like that too.
And
I
at
dig
this
it.
point, it kind of just makes sense that somebody else would probably make an Iron Man style suit at this point. Somebody's like, oh,
Well,
you're good.
we'll see. I again, they missed an opportunity there for me to reintroduce Pepper Potts. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, cause she's at MIT. You think somebody that smart is not getting recognized by people?
yeah,
You know,
maybe
like,
that could maybe just Gwyneth Paltrow just didn't want to do it. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
at this point would surprise me. But I like either way. I like they kind of kept her Iron Heart suit kind of goofy, just a little goofy, not
just a little
too
bit.
much, but just enough.
Although I will say again, this is white people got to check themselves. You putting braids on the side of the helmet, dude. Like stop being tropish. Just
I didn't
stop.
notice that, but that's a fair point.
Yeah,
Uh,
bro. Like we gotta look. She's black. She's in the suit. The suit ain't gotta be black.
yeah,
You
that's fair.
you
Yeah,
understand?
that's fair.
Like the suit don't gotta look like a black person is in it
Yeah, fair.
for it to make sense. Okay.
Yeah, totally valid.
Um.
That being
So
said,
yeah.
I
That
thought
well yeah. That being said, one more thing. I'm sorry.
go for it.
Black Panther is the second best film in Phase 4,
Mhm.
right up there with Spider-Man, and that's where I put it. You know,
You mean this Black Panther? Like I thought you meant like original. But
no, this film,
okay,
this
got
film I
it.
think is the second best film of Phase 4. You know,
I would say like this is definitely up there for me. Like I think if I like which one I rewatched the most, I still go with Shang-Chi.
really,
Um,
you like Shang-Chi?
I love Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was
And
great.
some great action sequences, but I just thought there were scenes in that I just didn't belong there. Like they didn't even need to be there. It would have been fine.
I mean, you can say that about any movie, any of these movies, really. But that being said, I don't know the core conflict and the kind of the worlds they create and the visuals they present. I always find deeply interesting, and I think the Mandarin in the movie is fucking great.
Well, and every time I see Wong, I'm expecting to see Shang-Chi, but I don't see him because the last time I saw him, he went off of Wong. So
Juan's all over the like. Juan is the current like what's his name? Like the agent from Phase 1 at this point. Juan's just doing his own thing. Uh, he's I don't know.
you know what else I noticed
What's
after watching Black Panther? I went back home and watched Endgame.
mhm.
Why isn't Coulson at Tony Stark's funeral?
Because Agent of Shield doesn't matter anymore. Uh,
He's alive though. He started the whole thing. Why wouldn't he be there?
I because I get I because Agents of Shield is no longer canon. That's pretty much the reason why. Uh,
Weak.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's what it is. um, but yeah, either way, I don't know. They're also doing the Thunderbolts now too, so that's another chance to like throw a bunch of other character cameos in there. Mm,
I guess like I said, the thing that got me most excited is who I'm going to see, who's going to meet who, and if is it their first time meeting, how do they connect? You know what I mean? Like I love those things.
I don't know,
I
and
love
like,
them.
and I to a certain extent I do too, but like the first Black Panther wasn't that, so I wasn't really expecting that from the sequel either. Um,
Well, but since then we've had Winter Soldier get treated at the Wakanda facility. He
mm,
didn't show up for that battle. I was kind of weirded out by that. You know what I mean? Clear opportunities to bring people in that are connected to the storyline.
mm-hmm.
We're just missing them. Are they absolutely necessary? No. Obviously, these films can exist on their own, but it makes it that much cooler. Like Toby and Homeboy coming back for the Spider-Man movie. It made it cool, man.
I mean, yeah, but that was also like the clear intention of that film was to milk off nostalgia from the previous Spider-Man films. That's not the intention here. The intention here is very much to present a geopolitical conflict while also honoring the previous Black Panther actor.
It's true.
And the more
And they
cameos you kind of
executed
throw,
that. They did that.
the more cameos you throw in there, the more you kind of pull away from that intention. It just becomes fan service. Uh,
I guess I'm feeling that way because the film projects that have been done in Phase 4 have been largely disconnected. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, now that we're talking about it, the TV shows have been more connected than the films have.
You're not wrong. I mean, like you can
You
also
know?
like the thorough thread that is, to me, very clear through all the Phase 4 movies. At this point, is the idea of legacy. And at this point, everyone is kind of like setting up the pace to pass the baton to a new generation. That has been a pretty consistent theme through most of the MCU Phase 4 projects. So realistically, what's going to happen is Phase 5 is going to build up on that. We're going to get the Young Avengers at some point. That's going to tie a bunch of shit together.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would dig that.
Yeah, like a lot of the older a lot of the older Avengers are gonna step down and pass down the baton.
Like Patriot and all of them.
Yeah, like get Patriot in there. Like they always like we already know Sacha Baron Cohen is gonna be an Ironheart as Mephisto.
Oh,
That's the latest rumor.
okay.
So like that introduces the ability of getting Wanda's kids back into things. And like they just introduced Charlie Theron as Clara, who also just became the Sorcerer Supreme in the comics.
Right, right.
So like all those different things, like they're gonna be more connected because they're doing a big crossover Final War thing.
I
So like
hope so. I
I
hope
mean,
so. I would love to see it again.
yeah. So like I mean, it's happening. It's been announced. Like this is gonna happen.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
okay. So, and another thing about Black Panther that I wanted to, so I, in my mind, the way they could have fixed the problem, the Letitia Wright thing is warranted and it worked really well.
yeah.
But what I saw in the film, again, don't want to kill the film, but there's a specific scene. It went in the direction that I thought they were going to go in,
Hmm.
which I thought would have been brilliant. It would have been brilliant if T'Challa dies, but they still got Killmonger's body and it's both of them inside the same body. And I would have loved that. I would have seriously like Michael B. Jordan coming back, but having to play as
Oh
Chadwick Boseman's
God.
T'Challa.
Oh,
Like, bro, like be like going to the spiritual realm and having that interaction and coming back and they're in the same body being Black Panther. I would have loved that so much, man.
I don't know. Like that feels like a really sticky area for me.
I thought it would have been fucking awesome.
I
That would
guess
have
this
been
goes
awesome.
slightly into spoiler territory from here on out. So just be aware we're gonna get into spoilers, but it is a
Yeah,
very good
yeah.
film. We recommend it. But if we're gonna get talk
Yes.
about Killmonger, we also got to bring up that scene.
No,
Uh,
absolutely. But no, I that is the one thing that I saw that I was not expecting.
yeah,
And when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, this is good.
yeah.
This is
So
good."
spoiler. Yeah. So yeah, when okay, Letitia Wright character Suri, I know I'm mispronouncing that, but
Shorty.
thank you. Goes into spirit realm. She doesn't see. You expect to like see like Chadwick Boseman or like some variation of like her brother or some other family member. But what we got is Killmonger, which is a nice cameo from Michael B. Jordan, and it fits with the movie, which is
It
what I liked
does. It
about it.
really does.
It didn't feel like shoehorned in. As like okay, this feels organic. This feels like something that would happen. It fits with the overall themes of the film,
Yep.
which is the same conflict that like um, Black Panther went through in Civil War, which was like seeking out vengeance versus being a good ruler.
No, you're right. You're right.
So it is very nice to mirror that similar hero's journey, while also like again give it a chance, Michael B. Jordan, just to go in there and have a great time.
Hey, yeah, no, I loved it, but I thought they should have made him like out of body T'Challa and Killmonger. I thought that would have been fucking awesome.
That goes into categories like if it wasn't an actor who died, I would be on board for that. But like I feel like another actor impersonating a dead actor in his iconic role just makes me just a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know.
Well,
Uh
we do that in biopics all the time, but
True, but like there's been a certain amount of time that's passed. Like, okay,
yeah.
like grace period. You've had your time. Now you can kind of make a movie about it.
Well,
But
that's obviously why they didn't do it.
yeah,
But
obviously not. Yeah, but
but what I thought was cool is that they played around with the idea of it, and I like
now if they want to do like
that.
a final wars thing and kind of like bring in the Killmonger that becomes Black Panther, that'd be
Oh
kind of
yeah,
cool.
the what if one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
the what if one or some variation thereof, because you can do whatever you want with that at that point. Then like that would be cool. I'd be down for that. Like that would fit. That would work. But yeah, so like this movie has a very delicate balance. Like I think you're right, and it is a comic book film at its core, because
And that yeah.
it understands the source material, understands what makes these characters important, and why you care about them, while also telling a story that you can as both comic booky and you can still take it seriously. In a way, and with a very unique geopolitical tone that you don't get from a lot of superhero movies in general.
That's true.
Especially the whole sequence when Namor like just invades Wakanda and just decimates fucking everything. Which is what a good fucking sequence. Um,
It is good. It is good. but again, it's blacks versus Mexicans, the movie, and
Yeah.
there's already a lot of cultural misunderstanding there to begin with. So I think that there's some sequences in there that I think are done the wrong way.
Okay, like how so?
Well, basically that's what I mean. Like they get introduced to each other's culture. They're very respectful to each other. But you're talking about a deity, a demigod who's existed for thousands of years. You tell me he don't got a little bit more patience than that? You tell me he ain't got a little bit more understanding for Wakanda? Like that, like it just seems he seems so reactionary for somebody who's lived with the people in a metropolis under the water for thousands of years and they have thrived. It just seems a bit fascist,
I get your
uh,
argument. That being said,
you
like
know.
I will pull up the source material as a defense of that because like that is also Namor in the comics too.
Well,
Uh,
in the comics, I thought it was the Atlanteans that were like that, and Namor was the
no,
person that was like, "Hey, chill out."
no. Namor is very bloodthirsty. He's very I am powerful, so therefore I am better than you, and I will absolutely fuck you up.
Cool, cool. But in the comics, Atlanteans are of European descent. At least that's what they look like.
Hmm. Yeah,
When you again, you're race swapping, so in your inclusivity, you've added something you didn't intend.
and that's a fair point. Um, so like I get as far as I'm able to anyway.
Depicting Mayan culture as bloodthirsty is a can of worms on its own.
Hmm.
When most people don't even know anything about the Mayan
Hmm. Yeah, fair.
culture, you know. So
Even though like I won't even necessarily describe it as I think we describe it as reaction. Like, there's no good way to say it. I will acknowledge. Like, you can say it's not necessarily bloodthirsty or reactionary, but that's still not good either. So like, yeah, there's no kind of work. There's no kind of working a way around that while keeping the interpretation that's there. So like, I don't know how you win that, honestly.
well, again, I'm not the type of person. I didn't grow up in the kind of way that enables me to not want to have conversations about that. So
Yeah,
putting it in a film just opens up the conversation. I just don't think that that was the place or the film to do it.
that's fair. That's a fair critique.
You know, like as we've gone from one extreme to the next. We've poked fun at Nazis. We've depicted the very serious nature of what the Nazis have done. You know, we've never really met in the middle. And for example, like there are films about the Nuremberg trials, but nothing as in depth as say Schindler's List about the Jews. That would be where I would be hoping to get an understanding of culture and a depiction in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Something a little more historically accurate, something grounded a little more in reality. Um, the fact that you make them fantastical reactionary people is kind of, you
It's a
know,
squishy area. It's a
it's
squishy
squishy.
area.
It's
Yeah.
a little squishy. You know what I'm saying? Also, when you go from not talking about historical ancient Mexican or Mexica, Mayan, Aztec cultures at all in film to depicting them this way. You've
Hmm.
gone from 0 to 100. That's what I'm saying. There's not really any in between. The most people going into the theater thinking they're going to see Mayans, the only thing that they have as reference is the Mayan calendar, which said the
Yeah.
world is going to end or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like most people don't know shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, so going in there now we're going to have, well, maybe not on Twitter anymore, but somewhere. we're gonna have white racist people talking about, well, mine's like,
I mean, like,
opening their mouths and shit.
white people are good at Black Panther no matter what. Like they already are. I think that this one of the dumbest arguments I heard about this one was like, Wakanda Forever box office smashed by a Japanese anime that premiered overseas. Uh, doesn't take much. They're gonna find anything.
I mean, I
Uh,
guess what the tack that I see that crowd taking actually, that is close to the film stuff, that people that talk about film who are in that vein, they've actually been heaping praise on the original Black Panther.
that does
And
not surprise me at
have you
all.
noticed that? Have you noticed that? Well, like, you know, Black Panther, looking back on it, it had some very historically great hero themes, and da da da
Yep.
da da. They talk about
It just happens every fucking time whenever the new thing gets released. Suddenly the other one's like, oh, we like the old thing now. And we always liked the old thing. I don't know what you're talking about. We weren't racist
yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
but back then it was like, oh, I'm racist if I say this film isn't good, and da 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 da.
Oh god. It's kind of like when was it Gina Thomas in The Mandalorian? Uh, back
Uh, it's Gina something.
Gina, you
Oh,
know what I'm talking about though.
yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Back when she first introduced, there was like 5,000 videos.
Gina Carano. It was
Yes.
Gina Carano.
Fight like 5,000 like oh, there's a woman in there and she's stronger than the character. The show sucks. It's the most woke bullshit. Blah 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 blah. And then when she turned tail and turns out she was like a far right rainer, I was like, we always loved you, Gina. We were always so supportive of you.
Here's the thing. I mean, in that I enjoyed that character.
I did too. I thought she was fine.
I thought it was just fine. So clearly clearly her political bias didn't have anything with her telling the story properly, because she did it well.
But it's more like when that all came out and she got fired because like some like I forget like something racist or anti-Semitic she did.
No,
Uh,
what it was so what started it was that she refused to put her pronouns on her profile, and people were getting on her about it. So then she did something to antagonize them, and that's what started the ball rolling. She
okay,
did in her pronouns. She put R2D2 sounds. She put beep bop boop,
okay.
and then that just set Twitter off.
That's the funny part is right now, with the recent Disney Bob transfers, like that you're watching them trying to freak out, trying to find like the interpretation to go with. Because one hand is like Chapek, who was kind of the oh you don't need to say that the gay part out loud kind of person. Now they would say like, we got rid of the woke one, but now we got the old Bob back. But like, but you hated the old Bob because you said he was woke. So which is it? Uh, they have no idea to
No,
interpret it
the
now.
one that just left, he was actively trying to take the politics out of the films. I know that.
Yeah, he was.
He was allowing the films that were in the pipeline to be complete, but he would not support them if they took a political slant, and he
Yep,
was actively trying to get the next set of films to not be that way.
yep, and
That's what all the trades were saying.
no, and that's accurate to my understanding. But it's just funny trying to watch people like trying to find the woke angle to this by like trying to say that he was like no, he wasn't. He very much wasn't.
He really wasn't.
Like the old Bob definitely like at the very least was like, hey, you guys do whatever you want. Like and as long as you make money, we don't really
He's a
care.
creative freedom dude, and again, I hate having to somewhat agree with these people in the film aspect. I do feel like the cinematic language should be stronger than the words on its face. Yes,
Mhm.
if you want to introduce gay LGBTQ themes, they should be strong visuals and they should be strong cinematic language. It should be better than just saying I'm gay and here I am.
I agree
I
with
do
that.
believe that.
No, I
I
agree with that. That's
honestly do
also not what
believe
they're
that.
saying either, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but that's what they're saying. That's not what they're meaning.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. So they're saying the thing that I think as an artist is correct, but I know what's behind it. So it makes me sound like a douchebag for agreeing with
say
them.
I don't know. I've never heard anyone say like, oh, they should be louder at being gay. It's more like they shouldn't be gay to begin with. That's always the argument, and they're not very
well,
quiet about that
well,
part.
yeah. What
Uh,
to me it's like if you want to normalize something, it has to matter in certain places and not in others.
and I agree.
You know,
I
like it has, for example, how a complex relationship happens if you're a superhero and you're gay and you go back home to that person. That's definitely a Marvel thing.
mhm,
Marvel characters do that kind of stuff all the time.
yeah,
Who they end up in bed with, we don't need to focus on that. We
mhm,
need to focus on, because sex is not love. So loving somebody and having a relationship that's a queer relationship or an inclusive relationship should have more to do about the actual love than it does the intercourse.
mhm,
That's
yeah,
what I think they get wrong.
mhm,
You know,
yeah, and like I do agree. Like if you are going to go that direction, try to be more inclusive, it should play a stronger part in the narrative as opposed to just be like a performative mention. Uh,
exactly. Or like, oh, it's the first kiss in the movie. Like,
like that
okay,
doesn't matter.
that's
Uh,
it. It shouldn't matter.
It's kind of like when they made a big deal in Endgame about like, oh, we have a gay character and it's just a director telling a story for 2 seconds. Like that was fucking nothing. Uh,
Exactly.
now I
So
think it's where the term queer baiting comes in. Uh,
yeah, and that's so yeah. So for the record, if I've never explained myself, that's what I mean by that.
yeah,
When I say words like cultural vandalism, I know that they've been co-opted by people that I don't like.
yeah,
But that still does not mean that I don't believe that we should have stronger storytelling and include everybody in that stronger storytelling.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but a splash of paint on the wall is still just a splash of paint on the wall. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's not enough.
It's not
Uh,
enough.
yeah, and I think I completely agree with that. Anyway, back to this movie.
Well, the reason why I'm talking about this is because this movie is a fucking masterpiece, and
Yeah,
there's very few things wrong with it. There's
yeah,
very little I could say.
honestly, yeah.
you know?
And it does. I think it does. If this is the last Black Panther movie we ever get, like whatever happens next, I think this is a very strong note to end on.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially it's like they say Black Panther's gonna be back, but it's like if there is gonna be a third movie, it's definitely gonna be about okay, Letitia Wright doesn't want to do another one of these, so we're gonna
Well,
pass the
well,
mantle on to
I,
somebody
I
else
think I
now.
think she's gonna change her mind now that she sees the reception
I
because
think so
like I
too,
said, it's
but
a career defining performance for her. Like she'll be even though she's the second Black Panther, another 10 years go by, she will be Black Panther to everyone.
yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean?
for
And
sure.
she should and for the sake of that franchise and all that it's done for everyone, I think she should embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
even
I
like
hope she does.
I hope she does too, and I hope she changes some of like her like again some of her wackadoo viewpoints on certain things. Granted, like that's probably hoping too much, but it does kind of muddy the waters a bit when you are trying to be like, playing what's supposed to be the most brilliant people, period, in your universe, and you believe very anti-scientific facts. It does
It's
definitely
true.
create a bit of a
It's true.
dissonance. And it does make it uncomfortable to watch certain respects. But I would also argue that the post credit scene for this movie when they introduced T'Challa's son,
Mhm.
like also plays into what I was talking about earlier about the phase 4 ultimately being about legacy and
It's true.
parenting and passing on the mantle to the next generation of heroes. Like Shang-Chi is all about again, like has issues with his father. Like Thor 4 ends with him having an adoptive daughter. Hawkeye, the TV show, is about him carrying on an apprentice, basically.
He basically adopts her. So
Yeah, basically adopts her. Yeah. Like even like WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2 both have like American Chavez, and obviously like Wanda's kids are gonna come back at some point.
yep.
It's like all of them kind of say like, hey, we're introducing these new characters and these new heroes that are gonna come up at some point, and they're gonna be the ones that lead the next great battle. Which again,
And
that's
and like I said, yeah, like all of those characters together should be something interesting and great to watch. I just hope they write them better than they have apart from each other.
yeah.
You know,
I haven't too much issue with the written, but I can see the argument there.
I
Uh,
I think so. So for example, She-Hulk, I love the woman that plays She-Hulk. I
yeah.
think she's perfect in every way. But as I said, with the inclusivity, they are spending too much time talking about these things that bother women and not showing us.
Hmm.
That's what I mean. Saying it out loud is one thing, okay? But but taking us on the hero's journey from a woman's perspective is way more important. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I can't as a man, I have a hard time identifying with somebody who comes fresh cooked out the oven and is perfect.
Like I would
You know what I'm
say,
saying?
like in the specific case of She-Hulk, like I do agree that they could have done more with it. That being said, I do think they were deliberately exploring that topic through very much of the internet lens. In a very kind of meta context, in that they knew the kind of reaction the show was going to get, and they got exactly the kind of reaction they
Well, yeah,
thought it was
and
going to
they
get.
and they and they leaned into it to their credit
Yeah,
and respect for that. But some of those criticisms are valid, you know?
sure, like with any of
Some of
these
them are.
projects. But that being said, like especially with She-Hulk in particular, was a deliberate bait towards those kind of people, and also an open rejection of them.
Yep,
Um,
yep. I watched the whole thing. And I thought she was great.
yeah, no, she's
I
fantastic. Yeah,
but I would just love it if they focus more on
yeah, yeah, like
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. Um, Yeah, I think it's all I really have to say about Wakanda Forever, outside of like a million other tangents apparently today. Uh,
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like it gets me excited for what's to come, but I'm not. I feel like I'm being told that I shouldn't.
yeah, I don't know. I think this is more like asking just for a bit of patience is more how I perceive it.
Could be,
Uh,
but I was right about Thanos.
um, ish.
Okay. I will remind you. You have video. You can go back when we did the
I
roundtable
don't remember
discussion.
everything I record.
When we did the roundtable discussion on Age of Ultron,
Mhm.
and I sat there and I told you I'm worried about how fast they're going because of the enemies that they're introducing. Ultron is a pretty significant baddie. You have to top him the next time around. You got nowhere to go except for Thanos, unless you're going to do Doctor Doom, and we all knew they weren't going to do that.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. So I kind of see how these things connect and how they don't, and I kind of say it ahead of time, and that's what I think. I think because of the unrest at Disney, they have gotten in the room and they said, "Hey, we have to tamper people's expectations, and we got to shrink this so it's more manageable." I firmly believe that they're shrinking the universe. I firmly think they are.
I don't know. Like I get what you're saying. It feels smaller, but I think that's by design. But I don't think it's shrinking because there's still a lot of big things being introduced in these movies all the time. With
But where
each
do they go though? Like that's what I mean. Loki and his girlfriend himself are they're ending the fucking world. You
no,
know?
not true. They're expanding it. That's the kind of that was the whole point. Was the whole point of that first season was that the multiverse is now a thing. Anything's possible, and that's where you get Kane the Conqueror. And he's gonna be like again. We
But by killing him, they ruined the stability, is what I'm saying.
No, they killed a version of Kane. It's not the version of Kane. That's the difference.
I thought that was the prime one that was holding everything together the way it was currently.
No, he's a different version of Kane. He's like he goes by some other name. I forget the exact name, but it's more like he's like the good version, quote unquote. Like there's the traditional Kane is going to be premiere in Ant-Man 3. He's already in the trailer.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
And he's got like they've already made it clear like the next Avengers movie is called Avengers: The Kane Imperative. So he's clearly going to be the main villain in that movie.
Okay.
So like
Well, let's see it.
that's where they're all going to do all of set up, and they're also probably going to have Cassie Lang get powers and have her be her own superhero because that's what happened in the comics, and they've been setting
Yeah,
up for years.
I see it going there.
Yeah,
Because they're bringing her along
yeah.
this
So like
time.
that's probably
So
going to happen. And then whatever hell, like Fantastic Four eventually, and then their Spider-Man movie. Probably get Miles Morales at some point in the near future. I imagine that's probably going to happen.
yeah, I know just the guy to cast too. If you guys are paying attention for Miles Morales, come see me. I know exactly the one. There can be no other. Trust me when I say this. I know the guy.
Well, now I'm
I know the
curious.
guy.
Who you have in
I
mind?
know the guy. I mean, shit, fuck it, whatever. I don't want to put him on blast over here, but David Morales from San Jose, California, is Miles Morales.
All right, Morales for Morales. Uh,
He his name is David Morales, and he was born to play him. He was.
so
He is the guy.
if
I
they made it through
guarantee
this
it.
entire video, we get to that point. Who knows? One guy, Marvel's like, son of a bitch.
Hey, he's the guy. I'm telling you. Holla at me. Holla at him. He's the one. He's the one you want.
But yeah, and like I'm sure like for Secret Wars, they'll probably bring back RDJ for a cameo, and they'll probably bring back Chris Evans for a cameo.
I'm actually surprised they haven't brought him back already as like the Jarvis.
Like yeah, that's
You know,
I'm
I'm
thinking
surprised.
if they're gonna do that, they'll probably do it for the Ironheart show. Is what I'm
Which I would love that. I would love that to pieces. Where if he's just talking shit to you inside your helmet, you can't get him to shut up. I would
yeah,
love
because again, that's what happens in the book, as you know. Like yeah, like so like
hollow Tony Stark or whatever,
and I have no doubt that Robert Downey Jr. would love to go in a voice booth and just record like 2 hours of dialogue for like a big paycheck.
and get paid
So
$600,000 or just
yeah, exactly. I would take that. So like I don't know. Like I'm optimistic that he'll probably be in that. And then Chris Evans will probably come back for a cameo in Final War or something.
So yeah, so I still think they're gonna. I have very little evidence to support this. It's just a feeling. This is just a
Mm.
hunch. But I have a feeling that they're gonna do the Steve Rogers director of Shield thing.
I
I
thought about that. I was kind of wondering
I
about that too.
I think they're gonna do it like old man Steve Rogers running Shield. I think they're gonna do it.
I mean, they very well could. At this point, the people at Marvel had just straight up said, "Yeah, we're just making stuff up. We're like whatever we use in the books is really just a test run to see if we can do for the movie later." Uh,
Right, right.
which is like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Which means we're probably gonna get, we're definitely gonna get World War Hulk at some point in the very near
Good
future.
man, because he getting a little too soft for my taste. He got
I miss some Savage Hulk too.
yeah,
He's coming back.
we gotta get him breaking stuff again.
Like
You
that's what
know?
I'm telling people for years. Like, look, I know like Professor Hulk's easy to shit on. Savage Hulk's coming back. It's like it's
Yeah.
not a matter of if, but
Well,
when.
or isn't the median one between the two is the gray one? Isn't Gray Hulk like kind of both?
Ish. That depends which Gray Hulk. There's a few. The one you're talking about is probably like Joe Fixit.
The really
Uh,
the really caveman looking one.
yeah, it's like traditional gray.
Okay.
Like the more of this Gray Hulk nowadays is called Joe Fixit. He's kind of
No,
like
I know what you're talking. Where he wears the pinstripe suit and shit.
what they're probably gonna do because this like they're probably gonna adapt some version of the Immortal Hulk in some capacity and get the Devil Hulk involved.
All
Uh,
right.
if you know,
The kind of magenta looking one.
it's more like Devil Hulk is like in Bruce's mind. He's kind of like a giant lizard man, basically. But how it manifests as the Hulk is like just the most terrifying version of the character. Because he like weirdly brilliant and just kind of malicious.
Okay. Okay.
So like they're probably gonna set that up for like a big internal like Hulk battle thing and like World War Hulk at some capacity, and then of course get Harrison Ford to replace Thunderbolt Ross and get him as the Red Hulk. What? What is that? Mean?
Anyway,
You don't like Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross?
I'm not a huge Harrison Ford fan in general.
Ah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's
Okay.
gonna look.
I think he's a brilliant actor with plenty of craft. I, however, do not like the way he treats his fans.
Ah, okay, that's fair.
You know, I think the older he gets, the more ungrateful he is for where he's at.
That's fair. I get
That's
that. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm not in a rush to go pay for a Harrison Ford project. I'm not.
I mean, to be fair,
That'll probably ensure that I never work again in the place where I work. You know, but I'm not a fan.
fair enough. I respect that. And of course, I think they just announced they're also doing like an evil Superman for the Thunderbolts movie, which probably means we're either gonna get Sentry or Hyperion.
Mhm.
Which of course, if they do Hyperion, that brings in the Squadron Supreme, which is another multiverse thing. So there's a lot going on there. But
Well, awesome. I'm glad that stuff is happening. And like I said, new stories are always good. I'm good with change. It doesn't bother me. We have a decade of great films that I can go back and watch, and it's not going to keep me from watching these films. But
yeah,
I am confused about the messaging. I am confused sometimes about the writing. So
fair enough. Um, yeah. So I think it's all I have to say. So I'm tired and I don't have any more words left, so I'm gonna go to bed.
yep, yep. And if I ever get famous and end up in a multi-million-dollar film, we're deleting this video.
Take me with you and agreed.
You're already with me. You're
All right,
already. I produce a quarter of your channel.
fair enough. All right, so if this video randomly disappears right now,
Yep.
we're
If it
just gonna replace it
randomly,
with a short little 5-second video. It says "Bye, fuckers," and we're just gonna take off.
yep, with just a bunch of money emojis with the with the money and shit.
Yeah, fuck you all. Bye.
So yeah, you know, but honestly, like my opinions are my opinions. But the reason why I would private a video like this is because I would want to be able to state my opinions on my own rather than people just digging it up.
I mean, we've had this discussion too, and I
Yeah,
like, yeah, when I have
yeah,
no
you
problem
know.
with it. Yeah,
Like I'll say that to his face. Even though I don't know him, I'd say it to his face.
like,
I just don't want people thinking that I'm one way and then be like, "Oh, but he secretly said this." I didn't secretly say shit.
Oh, that's why I always say, like, I can never run for office in any capacity because they just have years of just dirt to bring up on me. Uh,
No, for sure, for sure.
remember
But
that
yeah,
bad joke you made in your early 20s? It's like, I do. I
yep.
have regrets.
Well, my early 20s didn't have YouTube.
Yeah, mine did. Too much to my detriment, better or worse. Uh, but anyway, thank you all
Hey,
for
well,
watching.
yeah, good to see you, dude. Speedy recovery, and go see Black Panther in theaters. Please support Black film and Black filmmakers. It has been literally 100 years to get to this point where they will even give us the camera on credit. Okay, so please go do it. Ryan Coogler is a master filmmaker. He is
Yep,
definitely a 21st century master filmmaker.
he really is.
You need to go see this movie. And Letitia Wright, stunning performance. Angela Bassett killed it. Everybody in the cast is great. There's not a bad moment of acting in this film. There may
Absolutely.
be there may be things that you don't agree with culturally or things you don't agree with film wise, pacing or whatever. But the performances are undeniable. You should all go see this. It's good. It's good filmmaking.
Very good way to wrap things up, and we will end there. Thank you all for watching.
All right.